The mechanism of fear dissolution through Avalokiteshvara's compassionate power. Lotus Sutra Universal Gate Chapter, Gandavyuha Sutra. The specific mechanisms by which Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva's power and wisdom eliminate fear operate through a sophisticated system of compassionate response that addresses both immediate dangers and underlying psychological causes of human anxiety. This salvific power functions not as arbitrary intervention but through systematic principles that demonstrate the integration of transcendent wisdom with practical liberation. The foundational principle underlying Avalokiteshvara's fear-eliminating power lies in the Bodhisattva's constant awareness of all sentient beings. Unlike ordinary perception that operates intermittently, Avalokiteshvara's compassionate consciousness maintains unbroken observation of every being's condition. This continuous awareness enables immediate recognition of distress and instantaneous response to calls for help. The transcendental wisdom eye of Avalokiteshvara never closes, meaning there exists no moment when any sentient being falls outside the scope of this protective attention. The practical manifestation of this power becomes evident in specific crisis situations detailed in the Universal Gate chapter. When individuals face imminent physical danger, such as attack by weapons, the mere invocation of Avalokiteshvara's name causes the attacking implements to break into pieces. This represents not merely physical intervention but a fundamental alteration of the aggressive energy itself, transforming harmful intent into harmlessness through the influence of compassionate power. In situations involving natural disasters, Avalokiteshvara's wisdom operates through harmonious alignment with natural forces rather than confrontational resistance. When thunderclouds gather with lightning and hail threatens, keeping Avalokiteshvara's power in mind causes the storm to disperse immediately. This demonstrates sophisticated understanding of natural phenomena and the ability to restore balance without violating natural law. The wisdom aspect discerns the optimal moment and method for intervention, while the power aspect implements the necessary changes. The transformation principle represents one of the most remarkable aspects of Avalokiteshvara's fear elimination methodology. When someone with harmful intent casts another into a fire pit, maintaining awareness of Avalokiteshvara's power causes the fire pit to transform into a pond. This goes beyond simple rescue to complete reversal of the threatening situation into one of safety and refreshment. Such transformation indicates wisdom that perceives the fundamental changeable nature of all phenomena and power sufficient to actualize beneficial changes. Liberation from physical constraints demonstrates another dimension of this salvific power. When individuals find themselves bound with manacles, shackles, and restraints, calling upon Avalokiteshvara's name causes all bonds to break instantly, providing immediate liberation. This extends beyond physical freedom to psychological release from the fear and despair that accompany imprisonment. The wisdom recognizes both the external constraints and the internal suffering they create, while the power addresses both simultaneously. Protection from supernatural threats reveals the comprehensive scope of Avalokiteshvara's fear-eliminating abilities. When evil spirits, demons, or malevolent forces threaten harm, they become unable even to see the person who invokes Avalokiteshvara's protection, much less cause injury. This demonstrates power operating on subtle levels of reality that influence the perceptual and intentional capacities of threatening entities themselves. The principle of reflective karma appears in situations involving curses and poisonous attacks. When someone attempts harm through spells or toxic substances, the harmful energy returns to its originator rather than affecting the protected individual. This represents wisdom that understands the self-defeating nature of malevolent action and power that ensures the natural consequences of negative intention manifest appropriately. Environmental protection extends to wild animals and dangerous creatures. When venomous snakes, scorpions, or fierce beasts threaten attack, remembering Avalokiteshvara's power causes them to retreat upon hearing the protected person's voice. This suggests communication occurring beyond ordinary language, where the vibration of compassionate energy itself conveys safety and harmony to potentially dangerous creatures. The psychological dimension of fear elimination proves equally sophisticated. Avalokiteshvara's supernatural powers enable perception of how beings remain trapped in suffering through attachments and delusions. By observing that desires flow like waterfalls, hatred burns like fire, ignorance shrouds like darkness, pride stands solid as mountains, and jealousy moves swift as wind, the Bodhisattva understands the mental formations that generate fear and anxiety. The method of invoking this protective power requires specific mental conditions for optimal effectiveness. Single-minded concentration while calling Avalokiteshvara's name creates the necessary receptive state for compassionate response. This is not mechanical recitation but genuine mental engagement that aligns the practitioner's consciousness with the Bodhisattva's salvific energy. The quality of faith and sincerity determines the degree of protective response received. Collective protection demonstrates the social dimension of this fear-eliminating power. When merchant caravans face brigands on dangerous roads, one person's sincere invocation of Avalokiteshvara's name provides safety for the entire group. This indicates that individual spiritual practice can generate protective effects benefiting whole communities, suggesting interconnected fields of compassionate influence that extend beyond personal boundaries. The educational aspect of fear elimination involves helping beings understand the ultimate groundlessness of their anxieties. Through various methods, Avalokiteshvara enables individuals to overcome fears by recognizing their true nature and developing confidence in their inherent Buddha potential. This represents not just temporary relief but fundamental transformation of the fear-generating mechanisms in consciousness itself. Supernatural power manifestation occurs through perfect integration with wisdom rather than arbitrary display of force. The text emphasizes that Avalokiteshvara is perfect in supernatural powers, widely practicing the skillful means of wisdom. This indicates that power always serves wisdom's discernment about what will most benefit each situation and being involved. The universal accessibility of this protection transcends geographical, cultural, and temporal limitations. In all lands of the 10 directions, there exists no place where Avalokiteshvara fails to manifest appropriate help. This universality ensures that no being remains outside the scope of potential aid, regardless of location or circumstances. The immediate nature of response characterizes much of Avalokiteshvara's fear-eliminating activity. Unlike worldly help that requires time for organization and implementation, compassionate intervention often occurs instantly upon sincere invocation. This instantaneous quality points to spiritual dimensions of assistance that operate beyond ordinary causality while remaining perfectly reliable for those who understand how to access them. The comprehensive coverage extends to all forms of suffering mentioned in Buddhist analysis. Birth, old age, sickness, and death, the fundamental sources of existential anxiety, all come within the scope of Avalokiteshvara's healing influence. Various hell realms, hungry ghost conditions, and animal states of consciousness also receive appropriate intervention, indicating power that addresses suffering at every level of existence. The preventive dimension of this protection operates before dangers fully manifest. Evil demons become unable even to see protected individuals, preventing harm before it can be attempted. This proactive quality suggests wisdom that perceives potential threats in their embryonic stages and power that neutralizes them through compassionate influence rather than confrontational methods. The contemplative practices associated with accessing this protection involve specific mental cultivation. Developing bodhicitta or the enlightened attitude provides the proper foundation for invoking Avalokiteshvara's aid effectively. This requires training the mind in generosity, compassion, and wisdom rather than simply requesting external assistance. The long-term effects of regular connection with Avalokiteshvara's protective power include gradual transformation of the practitioner's own capacity for fearlessness. Through repeated experience of compassionate intervention, individuals develop confidence in the fundamental safety provided by enlightened awareness. This eventually enables them to extend similar protection to others through their own developing wisdom and compassion. The systematic nature of this fear elimination follows recognizable principles rather than random occurrence. Consistent mental alignment with compassionate energy, sincere invocation of protective power, and receptive faith create reliable conditions for salvific response. Understanding these principles enables practitioners to access help effectively while avoiding superstitious approaches that misunderstand the underlying mechanisms. The ultimate goal of fear elimination extends beyond temporary relief to complete liberation from the psychological roots of anxiety. By helping beings recognize their attachments, delusions, and ego clinging as the fundamental sources of fear, Avalokiteshvara's wisdom guides practitioners toward permanent resolution of suffering rather than mere symptomatic treatment. Modern applications of these principles involve understanding how compassionate awareness can influence apparently intractable situations through subtle but powerful methods that transform underlying conditions rather than merely addressing surface symptoms. The integration of wisdom and power demonstrated in Avalokiteshvara's activities provides a model for effective intervention that benefits all involved parties while maintaining harmony with natural and moral law. The practical accessibility of this protection requires neither special qualifications nor complex preliminary practices, though deeper understanding and stronger results develop through continued cultivation. The essential requirement involves genuine recognition of one's limitations and sincere openness to receiving compassionate help from sources of wisdom beyond ordinary human capacity yet intimately connected to one's own deepest nature.